Bitcoin has had a solid month of May with double-digit percentage gains. But after retracing once again from the $70,000 region, we have to look as to why we're struggling to rally even higher. Today we're going to be doing a roundup to discuss Bitcoin's current conditions and where better to start than the monthly returns heat map chart we have here on Look into Bitcoin. And as we can see, for the month of May in 2024, we've had, as I film this, 12.46% upside gains, which has obviously been pretty nice. It's nice to have positive months compared to negative months, but really all this has done is kind of make up the negative month we had in April. Because really for the past 2 months or so, we've not really done anything too exciting. If we just go to the short-term holder realized price chart we have here, if we just zoom in, what we can see is in the month of May, we did actually bounce off this short-term holder realized price, which is what we were expecting Bitcoin to do, as this is usually a very strong level of support during bull cycles. But if we just zoom into the most recent price action, we can see that price is pretty much where it was in mid-March. And apart from a few $1,000 swings to the upside and the downside, not lots really happening. We did kind of anticipate this again post-halving event after a new all-time high. We kind of expected price to cool off a little bit, but this is kind of leading to some, let's be honest, boring price action with not a whole lot going on. And due to this lack of volatility, it may be discouraging new market participants from entering the space. If we go to the Bitcoin hodl waves chart here and just remove all of them apart from the most recent new market participants. So if we have the 24-hour, 1 day to 1 week, and 1 week to 1 month. So just new market participants that have been in the space for shorter than 1 month. We can see this is actually at the lowest level ever. This is the lowest amount of new market participants we've had coming into the space on a 1 month or lower time frame. And to contrast that, if we remove all apart from, say, the 1+ year, we can see that this is significantly higher than we usually see at this stage in a bull cycle. So we're in a bit of a crossroads here. We're not getting new market participants coming into the space to potentially buy BTC at high prices and rally significantly higher. But at the same time, we're not necessarily seeing lots of old experienced traders begin taking substantial levels of profit on their positions, at least not a vast majority of experienced market participants. We can see that this is still very, very high, considerably above 60% of BTC that hasn't moved in over a 1 year period. And if we look to even longer than that, we're still above any level that we have seen historically in any BTC cycle. So really, even though, like we said, there's not new capital coming in to rally prices higher, this is probably why we're not seeing any substantial downside moves either, because again, people are just kind of happy sitting on their Bitcoin, maybe some boring price action. And of course, we do need to acknowledge that a lot of this may be due to the Bitcoin ETF maybe taking away some of the native BTC purchasing as more sophisticated investors look to purchase BTC through these new derivative products. And what we can see here on the active address growth trend is pretty much like we've seen in the past few charts. The amount of Bitcoin network users just continues to drop. And if I remove all apart from the 30-day moving average of the active Bitcoin network users, we can see that this is the lowest level we've seen since 2019, all the way back here when the Bitcoin price was probably around $4,000. So there is a definite lack of new market participants coming to the space, at least those that are actually buying native BTC on the Bitcoin network. They're actually having a positive impact on price. So like we said, we're at a bit of a crossroads where there's not a huge amount of money coming into the space, but not a huge amount of profit taking place either. If we look at something like the 365-day moving average of this, we can see that this isn't necessarily indicating any significant warning signs. We can see it has dropped off, but typically we do see this during periods of low volatility or after some pullbacks. We could see here in the 2021 bull cycle, after we reached the, at the moment in time, all-time high and dropped, this came significantly lower than where we are now before price rallied to new all-time highs once again. So even though this is potentially not the most bullish sign, we can look to see that this is somewhat common. In the previous bull cycles, we had instances where the amount of active daily users dropped by hundreds of thousands during the middle of a bull cycle before price continued to rally even significantly higher. But if we look at something like the MVRV momentum indicator, what we can see is looking at the 1-year moving average of the MVRV ratio, we can see that this is still looking very healthy. We're still in very healthy levels in bull market territory, midway through a bull cycle, however you want to define it. Things still look fine. It doesn't look like we've topped out in price action. It doesn't look like we're due for a bear market or anything like that. This is just a very typical cooling off period. If we look to mid 2016, June or July 2016, when the previous halving event occurred, we did have this huge run up again about a year after we bought in price action, very similar to this cycle, before it dropped fairly significantly, and we had months of boring price action. And a very similar thing happened in 2020 after the halving event. Price just kind of went sideways for a few months. This is very typical of a Bitcoin post-halving period of price action, and especially maybe as we get into the summer months, we may see a little bit of a summer lull, maybe less market participants coming in. Maybe they're outside enjoying the sunshine, probably not in England. But either way, this is just fairly normal, and even though it's boring, we need to look at this as an opportunity to potentially continue accumulating BTC before we almost certainly see the next stage of the bull cycle where prices continue to rally significantly higher. Also, if you haven't already, please don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications to ensure you're receiving all of our content as soon as it's released. And make sure to check out all the resources we've discussed today, as well as the many more that are all available on lookintobitcoin.com, your number one source for Bitcoin information. So just to summarize, the month of May has been positive for Bitcoin, with a strong bounce from just beneath $60,000 to temporarily above $70,000. Like we could see from that short-term holder realized price line, which has historically been a very strong level of support throughout bull cycles and a really key area to potentially accumulate on dips as we look to rally even higher. However, Bitcoin's price action has still been fairly choppy for the past couple months, pretty boring, let's be honest. And with price still seemingly cooling off after the halving event, a new all-time high, it's maybe discouraging new market participants from entering the market. We can see a huge decrease in on-chain activity and a vast lack of new market participants entering the space, which may also be due to the Bitcoin ETFs potentially pulling in some users that maybe don't want to deal with native on-chain Bitcoin and just prefer to go through these new products that exist. But either way, what we can say is this isn't necessarily bad for Bitcoin. This is pretty typical to see a little bit of a cooling off and some lack of new interest coming into the market. And really what we can see from metrics like the MVRV, we're actually at very healthy levels. And the longer we can kind of grind, build a solid foundation at the current prices, it's probably much better for Bitcoin. It allows us to grind higher, a bit more slower, at a healthier pace, rather than retail euphoria coming in, buying up, and really potentially bringing an end to the bull cycle prematurely. So the longer this lasts, the longer we can build this base and move higher at a healthy rate, the better, and probably increases the potential market cycle peak price for BTC. If you like this video, then please visit lookintobitcoin.com, where you can also consider becoming a site subscriber to gain access to professional resolution charts, advanced macro and portfolio data tools, in-depth crypto industry reports, live and personalized indicator alerts, private trading view scripts, and more, all for a fraction of the standard industry price. And let me know in the comments below and on social media, do you think that this has been a pretty good month or a bad month for May? How do you see June playing out, and maybe the rest of summer? Do you think we continue to have this choppy consolidation, boring price action, or do you think it's just a matter of time before we break substantially higher, or maybe even break down lower? As I said, let me know in the comments below. I look forward to reading and replying to all of them. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.